So how do you look at Michigan State real quickly as I show you the East in just a second here?
Look, Michigan State's a team that could win a national championship. Now, they're going to have to get through Duke to do it, and who knows who else. But they have not played great in the last 3 NCAA tournaments. They've been knocked out in the first weekend.
Duke is going to start in Columbia, South Carolina against the winner of North Carolina. Why do they have to go to Columbia to play another team from Durham, right? Or North Dakota State, the Bison, after winning the Summit, play in the first 4. Winner gets Duke. And then as you look at that potential second-round matchup, Coach K against Johnny Dawkins, if UCF gets by VCU.
Yeah, they got to get by VCU, though, who can really defend.
VCU lost in the A-10 tournament, but they get an at-large bid. Mississippi State, Ben Howland's team, into the tournament against Liberty. Liberty, in its first year in the Atlantic Sun, getting a 12 seed. 12s haven't been as successful against 5s as you might think in recent years. Talk about that plenty on Bracketology. Virginia Tech, Justin Robinson is back, and they get St. Louis in a 4-13 matchup.
And St. Louis is an offensively challenged team, but they can really guard Virginia Tech with Justin Robinson. He's as important to Virginia Tech as Zion Williamson is to Duke.
They can really shoot the 3, and they get better shots with Justin Robinson there. But Virginia Tech, in its history with just 6 NCAA tournament wins, see if they can get things going in the East. They play in San Jose. That's the pod system. They'll have to go out there, but they are in the East region, opening against Travis Ford and the Billikens coming out of the Atlantic 10. Here's the bottom part of these. Look, Belmont's in. They're in the first 4. How about that coaching matchup? Couple of wily veterans, Rick Byrd of Belmont and Fran Dunphy, 70 years old, his final year at Temple, taking the Owls into the tournament, won 10 Ivy League titles at Penn, calling it a career after this. A good coaching matchup for you there.
Terrific coaching matchup. Rick Byrd's team is really good. Remember, Nick Mazinski did not play in the OVC championship game. That'll be different.
LSU, Yale. Yale's won a game as a 14, but look at the next one. Look at the next one. Look at the next one. Thursday in Des Moines, Iowa, Louisville has a 7th seed against Richard Pitino and the Golden Gophers.
Just fell that way.
just so happened to do that, yeah.
It's a myth.
That's a myth.
Maybe, maybe not. It's hard to say. I will tell you this. Louisville has been seeded lower than 6 times in its history, and they never have gotten out of the first round. I mean,
Minnesota can win that game.
I should
Minnesota can win that game.
Minnesota gets guard play and takes care of the basketball. They can win that game because they can rebound. Amir Coffey, he's the key in that matchup.
Jordan Murphy, one of the best rebounders you've ever seen.
Michigan State, as you mentioned, 2 of the last 3 years, they've lost to double-digit seeds. They've lost the 2-15 game, and they played Bradley out in Missouri Valley. Missouri Valley teams are 9-0 in the round of 64 the last 6 years. 5 of the wins coming as a lower seed, including each of the last 4. However, I wouldn't wager it happens this time, but it is a little historical nugget.
How'd you like to walk out on the court and say, I got Dwayne Ludier Gludier,
And Virginia, the #1 seed in the South. The Cavaliers had just a brilliant season, losing only to Duke and then to Florida State. Here's the trivia question. Got $100 for you right here. As Gardner-Webb makes its first NCAA tournament appearance, can you name 2 great players who played at Gardner-Webb? John Drew, the former Great Hawk, and Artis Gilmore, which is a
Gilmore. Wow.
Because it was a junior college then.
Exactly.
Went to Jacksonville after that.
Very good, gentlemen. The Running Bulldogs. They're a good 3-point shooting team, top 40 in the country. I would worry about Gardner-Webb. I think Virginia probably has a score to settle. Ole Miss and Oklahoma. That's the 8-9 matchup from the SEC and the Big 12 there. Wisconsin and what does it tell you that Oregon, look, I know they wouldn't have made it in. They got the AQ out of the Pac-12. Anything you can glean from Oregon being
I think Washington is out. I think Arizona State and Oregon will be the 2 representatives of the Pac-12. And that 12-5 game, I like Oregon.
Let me tell you this. Wisconsin missed the tournament last year, but in their previous 4 appearances, at least to the Sweet 16. Kansas State, they've got the issue with Dean Wade. They've got the Anteaters of UC Irvine. UC Irvine has a little bit of tournament history working for them as well. They lost by 2 points to Louisville as a 13 seed in their only other appearance.
Coached by Russell Turner, an outstanding player in his day at Hampton-Sydney, scored over 2,200 points. It's an excellent defensive team. They don't score easily, but they can really guard.
They have a 16-game winning streak. It's the third longest active winning streak going into the NCAA tournament. That's the 4-13 game. That, too, will be in San Jose, so the Anteaters will have an opportunity.
That's going to be a battle defensively because Barry Brown, those guys, they can defend, too, for K-State.
Okay, we got the bottom half of the bracket ready to go now? Okay, Tennessee is the 2 seed there, so it won't be, it's a good point you made earlier, not Kentucky in the South staying in state, but Tennessee, who lost in the SEC championship game, will be the 2 seed opposite Virginia.
By the way, Tennessee is a team, obviously they lost today at Auburn, but they can beat UVA because of their size and the way they defend, actually. And we've always seen UVA struggle against guards who are a little bit taller and they have that length. That's what Jordan Bone and company bring to the table.
And teams that can rebound.
Yes.
Virginia traditionally had trouble in the tournament with Michigan State. And Tennessee's not quite Michigan State on the glass, but they do rebound effectively.
I think that Oregon matchup, Wisconsin, I'm telling you, you can give me the history lesson. Oregon right now has won 6 in a row. Oregon right now is playing at a high level, and they've got experience. Peyton Pritchard, Paul White, 2 fifth-year seniors. Lewis King playing at a high level. They really defend.
When you fill out your bracket, I'm really high on picking teams whose coaches just got a nice long extension, too.
It's had a good week.
As Dana Altman, just a really good week. Tennessee takes on Colgate. Colgate's previous appearances were when Donald Foyle, who played for a dozen years in the NBA, led them. So Colgate is back in after they win the Patriot. And looking at the 6-11 matchup, St. Mary's, who knocked off Gonzaga, gets Villanova. Villanova's either won the championship or got knocked out in the first weekend. You've said it was a great accomplishment if Nova, you see them reacting, if Nova could get out of the first weekend. Based on what you see there, they get past the first round at least against St. Mary's?
I think they will beat St. Mary's. It's kind of like looking in a mirror. They put so much pressure, obviously, on Phil Booth and Eric Pascal. They win with culture. What he's accomplished this year with this team, incredible.
If there will be slower tempos in any region in the country than in the South region, I'd be shocked.
And look at the 3-14 game. Purdue and Old Dominion, the Monarchs. Jeff Jones, who has been battling prostate cancer, gets his team into the tournament. Former Virginia player Bryant Stith's son, BJ, and BJ also a former Virginia player, leads Old Dominion against Purdue.
Yeah, BJ Stith can score with the best of them, but against Carson Edwards, that's going to be a great guard matchup.
Ahmad Kaver is an outstanding passer as well, a terrific guard, and Old Dominion packs it in. And they're gonna try to pay. That's where Carson Edwards can shoot over the top of that thing, score a bunch of points.
As you look at the bottom part of this, what's the game that could wreck this part of the bracket?
Cincinnati, Iowa. I mean, you talk about Cincinnati, a team that just grinds you down that matchup zone against the Iowa team who's been kind of like a Jekyll and Hyde. Iowa, when they're good, they're really good. When they're bad, they don't guard anyone. That game right there, because if Cincinnati wins, their physicality, their ability to rebound, they're the team that could match up with the Tennessee.
Showing you the brackets as soon as we find them out. In the Midwest, the #1 seed is North Carolina. The 3 #1 seeds that have been revealed, all from the ACC. North Carolina takes on Iona. We won't have problems getting shots up in that game. Regular season champion from the Pac-12. Washington gets in against a really good Utah State team. Utah State, who has been just ripping of late, and they make it into the tournament for the first time since 2011, winning the Mountain West in that game. Auburn is a 5 seed. Here's a great historical nugget for you gentlemen. Auburn never has lost a first-round game. They're perfect. Since moving to the WAC, New Mexico State, which has school record 30 wins, 0-for. They're 0-for-8.
Former Big West foe.
Yeah. Kansas and Northeastern. Kansas, the 4 seed that snaps a streak, a record streak of 9 consecutive tournaments of being a top 2 seed. They take on Northeastern. Northeastern, which last won a tournament game when our good friend Jim Calhoun was the head coach. He had Reggie Lewis during the glory years of Husky basketball. They will open against Kansas. Kansas appearing vulnerable right now.
And Northeastern's got 5 starters back from last year where they lost in their title game to Charleston, a game where they were ahead. And they've got a point guard named Vasa Pušica, who is really, really good. A kid from Serbia, an unbelievable competitor, had 21 points against Hofstra in their title game. Good 3-point shooter, but a ultimate competitor.
Kansas City's where the regional is. I'm not sure that Kansas gets there, but if they do, Kansas could have North Carolina, a bit of a disadvantage there. This is the bottom half of the Midwest. Iowa State, Big 12 tournament champions. They lost 5 of 6 coming down the stretch, got themselves together, won the tournament. they have Ohio State. Houston had a great season, top 4 in the net evaluation. This shows you the committee wasn't married to the net, doesn't it, giving Houston a 3 seed?
It does. And then, look, we got a chance to go to game day and see Houston. This team, I think, can compete with anybody. I mean, they play hard, they play fast.
Terrific guard play for Houston. I like Kentucky's draw. I mean, Wofford, Seton Hall, I actually think Seton Hall in that 7-10 is the team that is going to get the upset and knock Wofford out.
Well, why would you do that right before I show the Terriers reacting here? Wofford in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and hey, that is the highest seed, the 7, that any team from the SoCon, the Southern Conference, has been able to get. Fletcher McGee is a great three-point shooter.
Fletcher McGee, one of the best three-point shooters really in college basketball history, but they've also got Nathan Hoover, who can really shoot it. Storm Murphy can shoot it. And Cam Jackson, a really good big guy.
They shoot 42% from the 3. They make 11 threes a game.
Kansas, Mississippi State, Oklahoma, North Carolina, those are their losses by significant number of points. Seton Hall's good.
Wofford and Seton Hall, that's Thursday in Jacksonville. And then Kentucky against Abilene Christian. Abilene Christian winning the Southland. They just rejoined Division I the last couple of years, so they make it into the tournament. And for their trouble, they get Kentucky, which 6 of the last 8 trips to the tournament, Kentucky has made it at least to the Elite 8. So you got a Kentucky-Carolina regional if things were to hold all the way to the Elite 8.
And Kentucky, even though they lost in the semifinals of the SEC tournament to Tennessee, has played really well the last half of the season. And I think Tyler Hero is a guy, P.J. Washington made the biggest difference. Tyler Hero is a guy that is knocking down shots at a high rate, and I think he's going to be a big difference maker in the NCAA tournament for Kentucky.
I think this is a good draw for Kentucky. I think Kentucky getting knocked out isn't the worst thing. And the reason I say because you get a chance to take a step back, get rest, get refocused. No one creates a cause better than John Calipari, and I think he can get his team locked in. But they get a rematch potential with Seton Hall, which I think is something that they would like an opportunity to do. And then on the top half, you're talking about games that they can win. I like that draw for them.
I would rather be, if you're Kentucky, you'd rather play against North Carolina than play against Virginia.
Yep.
Because North Carolina can get up and down, you know their athleticism is going to show, and it is going to be, if they play, a barn-burning great game. You play against Virginia, and that thing is going to be 2 hours in a dentist's office, and I think Virginia is more likely to win that game.
And I would love to see Ashton Higgins go against the likes of Kobe White. Kobe White has turned into
he's done it already.
I know he has.
He dominated
Kobe White's
last
different
time.
now.
But different now. It's different now.
Both of them are better, but Kobe White's more, he's in a better position to handle the pressure. Because the same thing, you could say the same thing about his first game against Trey Jones. Didn't go as well. Second two went much better.
I think the funny thing is Gonzaga, North Carolina beats Gonzaga, and then they turn around and have to play Kentucky. So they played pretty well, good enough to beat Gonzaga, but then they turn around and play Kentucky. Kentucky played at a high level that night. That would be a great matchup, though. The Higgins
will be great.
All right, Dick, Gonzaga gets a #1 seed for the 3rd time in tournament history. They will open against Fairleigh Dickinson Prairie View. We're playing
Harvard on the Hackensack. Let's go. Let's get a win in Dayton.
That is Seth's alma mater. For those of you who might not be aware, Syracuse and Baylor in an 8-9 matchup. And then how about this? 5-12. You know what? I was going to sit on my couch. I might go over to Hartford and watch Marcus Howard and Ja Morant.
2 of the top guards in the nation. Marcus Howard can score against anybody, and Ja Morant is considered to be a top 2 NBA draft pick. Wow.
There are the Racers with the reaction. You see that they will be opening play against a Marquette team that really struggled coming down the stretch. Now, a lot of that is due to Marcus Howard's wrist injury. He had a tough shooting night in the loss in the Big East tournament, just 1 out of 15, and now they get Murray State.
Also know that Shaq Buchanan is a senior. He's averaging around 13 points, but a lockdown defender for Murray State as well.
Kevin Brown can flat shoot it for Murray State now.
Florida State's the 4 seed against Vermont. Now, Florida State's going to be the favorite in this game. Against the spread, Leonard Hamilton 15-4 with 11 outright wins as an underdog when he is the favorite. 3-8 against the spread with 6 losses. Do you smell an upset?
Well, Vermont is good. They can hang. They're physical, they're strong, and Anthony Lamb's as complete a player as you're going to find anywhere in the country.
Terrence Mann to get that responsibility for Florida State. That's going to be a great matchup to watch.
He's the Zion Williamson in the America East.
Well, we saw the sign just in the America East Championship game. This Buffalo team plays fast. They're explosive. They get the winner of the matchup in Dayton between Arizona State and St. John's. Now, Buffalo out of the Mid-American Conference gets a 6 seed after beating Arizona and playing Kentucky tough last year.
I thought they would have been a 5 seed.
Yeah, I had them 5-6. Buffalo's a very good team. You talk about a team that plays at a fast pace and gets it up and down. They speed you up. They shoot the three. They bring a guy named Nick Perkins off the bench at 6'8", who's their second leading scorer. He can flat go, as can C.J. Massenberg. That team can make a deep run.
Texas Tech and Northern Kentucky, the Norse, back into the tournament. If you're filling out your bracket, just a little word of historical warning. No team has ever lost its first game in the conference tournament and gone on to win the national championship. Texas Tech would be in that category. LSU would be in that category, by the way. Nevada and Florida play Thursday in Des Moines. This is part of the West, advancing to Anaheim. And then Michigan and the Grizzlies of Montana. What do you think about what Vitale said about that Michigan gets a little bit of a clearer path if you get that far than Michigan State did?
Yeah, like I said before, I thought Michigan State should have been in that region with Gonzaga. I think Florida State is a team that can actually hinder Gonzaga. I actually think Syracuse would be an interesting matchup for Gonzaga, considering they play that zone as well.
Yeah, when I look at this bracket right here, I mean, Michigan has got a decent bracket. Texas Tech can get to the Final Four and compete for the Final Four. Texas Tech, the way they play, I understand no one's ever done it before, but Texas Tech defends. They were averaging making 10 threes a game in that 8 or 9 game run they had going on. They got multiple guys who can make shots. They're physical. They're multiple defensively. And they've got a toughness, yet they are relaxed offensively. Texas Tech can get to the Final Four.
I didn't say it couldn't get Final Four. I said win it all. Oh, win it all.
Two of the best non-Power 5 teams in the field are in the West. Buffalo as a 6 and Nevada as a 7. And we talked a little bit about Buffalo. They're legit, obviously beat Arizona last year, and they're better this year than they were last year. I think one of the players we didn't mention was Jeremy Harris, who can left-hander, who can really play. He's not. He makes shots. He's not a great shooter, but he gets hot and is really streaky. And Nevada's got Jordan Caroline, who's a stud. Like, he plays inside and out. They've got Caleb and Cody Martin, and also a kid named Jazz Johnson who can really shoot it. And Trey Porter's a big guy who can block shots, protect the rim. And they had not played well, or as well, I would say, toward the end of the season. So they're going to go in to the tournament, I think, with an edge to them that maybe they wouldn't have had if they'd won their tournament. Because remember, they didn't win their tournament last year either. Did really, really well.